Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dawson County Board of Commissioners work session. Today's Thursday, June the 4th, 2020. We appreciate your attendance and also those watching us through a live stream. Start out with the new business. First up, we have the presentation of the Georgia Department of Transportation and Federal Transit Administration 5311 fiscal year 2020-2021 Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act Supplement Agreement Number 1. Senior Services Director, Dawn Pruitt. Dawn.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is some extra funding that we got from the FTA. There is no match involved. It's all federal funds. It's actually in the amount of $384,680. This is more than you, as a commission, normally put in for our half of the share for any given year to provide for transit. But I think this goes from current to September of 2021. If you'll notice on page 7 of the agreement, we don't have to provide an audit till 121 days after December the 31st, 2021. There's still a lot of question and answers about how we can or cannot spend this money. We have already ordered a fogger. My staff met with Chief Thompson and we ordered a fogger, so when we do start back for the buses, we have not got it yet. It's a little bit on back order, but we have already received the chemicals to be able to do that. We purchased several things recently. Whenever I see a box of masks, I go ahead and pick those up, or spray or disinfectant. So that's things that I can come to the transit that we can use on the buses. And we're possibly not going to get anywhere close to that, but just any little bit that we can to protect our clients. Once we do get back to rolling, we'll go towards that. No county taxpayer funds involved, all FTA federal funds.
Is it supposed to be used for this coronavirus?
It is. And
$385,000.
Correct. And it all depended upon how big your transit operations was. Of course, if you were a MARTA or a Cobb Transit Authority, you got a lot more money. But a small county like this, that we're still considered a rural, not an urban, we do have a partial amount that's urban within the county, the 400 area. So, if we were to pick back up and a lot more transportation needs, we could fund that through additional help or whatever during this crisis, because we got about a year and a half to spend it.
And it's earmarked for this certain.
It is.
It's earmarked for the virus.
Through the CARES Act. But if you read into it, it specifically says we can use it for operating, capital, and mobility management costs for our transit service and lost revenue due to coronavirus public health emergency. So there's a lot of different ways. Of course, we're going to look at our local area as far as our GDOT to help us guide us through this. But it was funneled down through federal FTA.
Well, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I know that, but this is very complicated.
It is.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to navigate this by myself.
What we can and cannot do, but what you need to be aware of is there is no county match or no county funds that will go into it. So this can help offset some costs that we would have to be paying for during this COVID time. The county would have to pay for it. The FTA has stood up and granted it through federal monies.
We're still paying for it. It just goes through.
Yeah, we're just paying for it in a little different ways.
People wonder why we have trillions of dollars in debt
Yeah.
when it comes to things like this.
But no additional funding will come from Dawson County. And I would request that we approve this and run it by tonight if possible.
I thought I saw a deadline,
Yes.
June 15th or something.
Other questions for Dawn?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're moving that tonight?
Yeah. It's all right, yeah.
I think she's under a deadline.
She is.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the way usually grants are, they give it to you and they're due the next day.
Right. Next up, we have a presentation of land use resolution update to residential agriculture lot size requirements. Planning and Development Director Jameson Kinley. Jameson.
All right, per the chairman's request, this is being presented to the Board of Commissioners to open back up the discussions for the minimum lot size requirements within the RA zoning classification. The current standard is requiring 5 acres for any new created parcel. The same language was presented before this board in March of 2019 and was, as y'all know, unanimously denied. Since that time, the board has heard 6 rezoning requests as a direct result. The language provided to you will allow one-time split in RAs of 1.5 acres. And at that time, I'll open up to discussion. Any questions?
Questions for James? I'll start out because I wanted this brought back before the board because I had conversation with several citizens in reference to the RA zoning of 5 acres, especially in some of the specific areas in the county where over the past 20 years there has been a smorgasbord of zoning, or acreages that have been permitted to build homes and stuff like that. So I looked back through the tax assessor website myself, and I could find multiple occasions of less than 5 acres where it had been allowed for someone to build a house on 2 acres, 3 acres, 4 acres, some even less than 2 acres. And so the thing that troubled me the most was that unsuspecting citizens and unsuspecting buyers of property and even sellers of property had no idea of the rule. And so that was troublesome to me. And so I wanted to bring this back to the board to look for some form of a solution. Because listening to some of the people that I've talked to who's invested a whole lot of money in something other than canal that is now useless to them is a problem. And when I looked through the record from 1998, when this thing was actually adopted in a land use resolution in 2020, some 22 years later, I can almost find year by year, all the way up through where there's some ambiguity that's involved in how this has been handled. And so that's troubling to me because I don't want this to be a forever issue. I want to find an answer to this problem as well as try to figure out a solution for these people who as I have spoken to some of y'all about, are caught in the net. And so that's the reason it's back before us today. And I'll be happy to hear from any of y'all.
I guess I got a question, James, too, because I guess his first statement, he said anything new. And I also looked on the county's website and saw multiple parcels that was less than 5 acres is purchased back in the 90s, 2000s. And, back then they wouldn't have told that, or the ordinance wasn't in place then. And just now that either the people are selling them or family members are deciding to build or the original owners are deciding to build. So I know your first statement, you said anything new. So is this looking at from this day forward or?
So I guess one of the questions would be, obviously somebody who owned a piece of property prior to 1998 would be grandfathered, correct?
Correct.
So if they bought that piece of property in 1997, 1996, 1995, anything lower than 1998, that person would be grandfathered. The problem that I see here is that unbeknownst to buyers or sellers is that there's been a whole lot of selling and buying going on of less than 5 acres since 1998. At which time, and not in Jameson's time, and I'll defend Jameson because he hadn't been here that long as a planning director, but this thing has been handled in a bevy of ways, and according to the ordinance, all wrong. And so what's happened is, and I can understand why somebody will buy a piece of property that's 2 acres because there's 3 more right beside it. And so I wouldn't think twice about it if I was going to buy a piece of property when I say, well, George has got 2 acres and Jim's got 2 acres and Jack has 2 acres. So I could probably have 2 acres. They all got houses. They all built a house, and they're all built after 1998. And so that's the issue. That's the issue, and I would encourage everybody on this board, before we get around to whatever we get around to, go and look, especially in the Cowart Road area, the Amiclola Church Road area, Highway 53 area, all those areas over there, because we've got some RSR over there, the subdivision that was granted in 1999 that are all 2-acre lots. Across the street, there's some 2-acre lots that are RSR. So there's some different zonings in some of those particular areas. So I am looking for, I guess, a solution to what will continue to be a forever problem if we don't fix it.
Could I comment just one further
Go ahead.
point on Commissioner Satterfield's question? Interestingly, the permitted use lot size table for RA says 1.5 acres or 5.0 in subdivisions. And I shared with y'all some analysis, if you were able to make it through and keep your eyes open, that addressed what subdivision means. Because I think many of us think about subdivision means, oh, you know, how many acres, and there's a huge thing, there's some sort of tennis, but the way the ordinance defines it and the way that it's used in land planning world is that subdivision means you've subdivided. So to your question about whether it's new, I think that's really what Jameson meant, is if it's a newly created lot that's a result of a subdivision, which doesn't mean happy acres, but it means you subdivided the lot, then it's going to come under the 5 acres. But if they've been existing, so you can look at it either way, they're grandfathered or they would fall already under the 1.5 because they're not the result of a subdivision, if that makes sense. So there's those dual requirements under the
I
ordinance.
guess the definition of subdivision. Because don't we have a new definition for subdivision? We got law,
We have one definition of subdivision.
what is that?
It's dividing one lot into two zones.
Subdivision is 2 lots.
Then we have, I think where you're going is, we also have a subdivision regulation, which is 3 or more.
Well, it defines a minor
Minor,
subdivision
yeah.
as 5 or less.
Yeah. And then.
So-
Well, minor's 5 lots.
Yes.
5 or less. So that would mean 2 could constitute a subdivision. Now, I think when you talk about a minor subdivision in that respect, under the subdivision regulations, I think it is thinking and speaking more about common development. It's a difficult concept, and it's not one that just Dawson struggles with, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of governments because, subdivision, when you divide a parcel, I mean, if you're not careful, you can create a regulation that would allow someone to take a 500-acre piece and divide it and divide it and divide it, and all of a sudden you've got a big subdivision,
That's right.
even though they fit within a division, and so it's kind of seems circular, but it can be complex and it can be abused, and so that's why if you split a lot, it's called a subdivision under the ordinance. Now, whether we can and wish to define it differently and try to, really drill down on what our distinctions are and what we intend to allow versus not allow, we can do that, but currently that's what we have. It's just once you split it, it falls within that 5-acre minimum.
And to further define new as what you're reading, new would be what is not already platted. So if it's already platted and recorded with the clerk of courts, our planning department accepts that as that was done at that time, that was okay at that point in time. It would be, for lack of a better term, grandfather.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Recorded. So if a surveyor goes out and surveys a lot, and they want to record it downstairs, clerk, do they come to y'all before they
Yes.
before they record it?
The clerk of courts downstairs will not record a plat unless it has our stamp of approval, the planning and zoning stamp of approval.
So these planning and zoning people have approved it in the past,
Yes.
Yes.
And then they go down there and do it.
Over and
Well,
over.
the reason we got here is because Jameson wanted clarification. Is that not right?
That's correct.
You said, I don't mind enforcing it. I just want to know what I'm supposed to enforce.
Absolutely.
And
Well-
that's exact, and we've had multiple directors who have interpreted this differently.
That's right.
Now that's the problem. But now we've got people who complied with the regulation. And you know, we had a guy that came and he withdrew his rezoning. And he went and bought enough land to make 5 acres. And I know people who have cut out 5 acres. So what about them? You know, this is just rhetorical. I'm not actually asking you. So don't look puzzled. I'm trying to look at the other side. Unfortunately, I can see two sides of every situation and it torments me. But that's what's happened, and I think all these people, they have complied. And like I talked to Billy, there's been 3 situations lately that I got caught up in stuff. And no, I didn't know it, but I didn't come and ask everybody to change the regulations because Sharon didn't know. But Sharon knows now. I know now, and you can't just go to one office. My concern was always about conservation. But then you've also got to go to the other offices because there's so many rules and regulations about this. And as Angie said in her email, you know, we hear from the laws and everything. Ignorance is not an excuse just because you didn't know. You know, what does that do to the other people who have complied? And when I got in my 3 situations, I didn't, and I'm a citizen of Dawson County. I didn't ask anybody to change a thing. I just went ahead and complied with rules to me that didn't really make any sense, but I did it. I did it. So I expect other people to, and the people that I'm around want the 5 acres. They like how Dawson County looks. They don't want it divided up. Now that's the people I'm around. Y'all may be around other people. But I'm concerned what Dawson County is going to look like because I want the rules changed for me. We got to look at the whole picture. We got to look at the big thing. I'm sorry I keep looking at you. But we've got to do that. We can't just change it for a few people. So that is my concern. And if we got rules and we got ordinances and we're going to continually break them, we need to just throw them all out. And we have zoning, we've had it a long time. Things change. And I have told people over and over again, if you see a piece of property you want, and you've got an idea of what you want to do with that property, before you buy it, you better go to all these departments and ask them, can I do that here? And our county looks like it does because of the zoning. Because there's plenty of counties that further north, they don't have zoning. You do what you want to there. But I'm just so afraid that we're backing up. And I mean, we unanimously voted for this. And it's not been long. So, you know, what's changed? And like I said, I got caught up in stuff, and it cost me a lot. It cost me a lot money-wise, and I'm still paying on it. But I didn't expect anybody to bail me out because I said I didn't know. I didn't know. I found out, I know now. I know to go ask everybody. I know that, and I know it's complicated. But life has moved on, life has progressed. It's not like it used to be. And I know Billy said, well, you know, you got a son that lives on 2.5 acres. I certainly do. That started in 2006. I was not a county commissioner. I complied with everything. But he was also on 198 or 99 acre tract. And we could have given him all that. And that's attached to another 90-something acre tract, so on, so on, so on. So he's not up there, and we're gonna sell 2 acres here, and 2 acres here, 2 acres here. So that is different. That is different, but, you know, I was not commissioner then. I had no idea I was commissioner. I went to everybody. I complied with every request. They approved the plat, and there's a house there now. But we've got to follow, in my opinion, I'm just one commissioner, you do, but I'm concerned about the direction of the county and what it's gonna look like. So that's my comment about the situation.
Well, I have
Go ahead, Judy.
Go ahead.
I have a concern that we have failed implementing our ordinance. These, you know, and Jameson, I'm not blaming you because you're
No.
innocent here.
We wanted clarification.
Right, and I appreciate that. I am so glad about that, but I'm concerned that we've come this far since 1998. It's been on our books and all of this has happened.
Failed over and over and over again.
I know,
Yes,
we
yes.
have
That
failed
is the
then
reason we're
we
here today,
continue.
and
trying to figure out a solution.
What do you do with, like I said, all the lots that's already platted, that's already less than 5 acres? That's a lot of them out there.
I wonder how many there are.
I mean, these people,
lot.
these
How many
people-
are
these people pay.
How many, she seems to know, how many?
I'm a real estate broker, and I actually sold these two right here on front, their property, out of a larger piece of land. It wasn't mine, but I was part of the transaction. There's a lot that I have taken and recorded over the years that's 2.5 acres, 3.5 acres, 1.5 acres, because we had the assumption we could build on 1.5 acres in the rural. So there's a lot out there, and that's, you know, I don't know how you will handle this, but there's a lot of people they took their life savings to buy this so they could move to Dawson County. And now, if they've got useless acreage here,
You can sell it.
I agree with keeping
Well,
the
they might
sign.
sell it to somebody who wants a 5 acre tract.
Excuse me?
They might could sell it to someone who wants, a 5 acre tract.
Unfortunately, a lot of them may be 1.5 acres, adjoining 1.5 acres, or 2 acre, or 3 acre, 3.5, you know. So-
Yeah, we got some situations though where that can happen. But, you know, and I told Betty this too, there was advertised in the paper about a piece across from us, and they said, oh, it's 6 acres and can be subdivided.
We were under that assumption.
I know.
From what you.
But, I mean, you can't assume anything in this,
No,
I mean,
you can't, but I am a real estate broker, and that's my part for not checking up on that. but
yes,
I'll be
really,
sure.
there's responsibility everywhere
Right.
where people have messed up. And like I said, I've been caught in it too.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
Here's where I'm at on this. Some decisions we make up here are very, very easy once you do the research and you can see a clear path forward on what's right and what's wrong and what's best for the community. I break these things down into separate issues because I think we look at separate issues. And so, number one, we have a track record of inconsistency, and that's historical track record, and you know, assumptions may be made based on that inconsistency in a particular area, and I understand that, and I can see that perspective for somebody that buys a piece of property that right next to them is a 2 acre tract that a house just got built on 6 months ago, and so I understand that perspective of it. There's a lot of folks probably here tonight, there's a lot of folks that are probably out there that don't even know we're having this discussion tonight, that have already purchased less than 5 acres, that are under the assumption because of inconsistencies and because of track records or you know, the legal word, and I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's a precedent that has been set in the past of allowing some of this. And to Sharon's point, she didn't know it when they did it. And, you know, think people in nature want to follow the letter of the law, but, you know, they might have been told one thing here and their neighbor did it, so it's just, they didn't do extra steps in research. Flip side of that is, I get ignorance is not, you know, that's the other side of the equation is, you know, if I'm speeding down 400 doing 100 and I say I didn't see a speed limit sign, it still makes me illegal for speeding. So that's the other side of the equation, and that's some of the things, when it comes to decisions that this board has to balance out, that's the push and pull that we look at on things. So I understand, and I am, I feel for the people that are, as Chairman Thurman put it, caught in the net. So right here, the people have invested money in the land that is essentially not good for anything, unless you want to go raise chickens on it or cows or whatever it may be. Their intention was to buy it to build a house. So I'm sensitive to that scenario that we have, and that scenario that other people that, again, that aren't here tonight that have done that we're not made aware of. So the other issue we got to look at is how we move forward. I've talked to some people that, you know, that want they got 90 acres and want to sell 2 acres. They think that's their right, private property rights. I'm a private property guy. And I get that. Again, here's the push and pull. The flip side of that is I want rural Dawson County to stay rural Dawson County. I think that's what makes us unique, and that's what gives us a character that it gives us. And we have to be very careful of how we move forward with any language of flexibility, if there's any flexibility, to make sure that it doesn't get abused. A scenario that was presented to me is if a man owns 6, 8 acres and wants to give his son or daughter an acre, or I'm sorry, 2 acres, 3 acres, to live next door. You know, there's tons of examples through American history where families live on the same piece of dirt for hundreds of years, and that's I think our attorney put it in the word of a legacy lot, and there was a definition behind that. But that's an American way, is families living together on the same piece of dirt, and I like that, and I respect that, and I think that from a property rights perspective, I lend credence to that. So is there a way to allow a man or a woman or family that owns some land to be able to have their son live on the land to help, you know, if it is agriculture, do I help them with the farm or help them, you know, we got an elderly population, and if I wanted to have my son or daughter come build a house next door to help me through my end of the years, you know, I think there's credence to that. And so, again, there's the push and pull, so I'm okay with that. But the flip side of that is, how do we keep that from being abused? How do I say, if I want to sell my son 2 acres and I split off 2 acres and it's allowed, then he'll turn around and sell it a year from now. And so there's catches, and you have to be very cautious of how these things are worded, so you don't let the horse out of the barn, and we don't open up Pandora's box to the north end of the county, which is in the RA, or is in the future land use plan as agriculture.
And then it won't any longer look like that.
Right.
Do we want it like this, or do we not? And they say, oh, I love Dawson County, I love how it looks, and that's why I came. But can you just change this for me? You know, and is that fair? And I go back to the ones that have complied. I mean, and they say there's a lot of people. How many is a lot? I wish I knew the number. Is there any way of even knowing a number? Because, I mean, I understand getting caught.
You can get on
I
the
think you
county
can go on the
slide,
website and you can look at the number of lots, because you look at the report, you pull up the lot, you click on it, it says 2.3 acres, you can look at the report, you see when it was bought, you can see when the house was built. All that stuff is there for you to take a look at, and that's the reason I said a while ago, like I said, I would encourage you, as we figure out what we're going to do here, to do that. Go on the website, take a look at that, because that's what I've done. I've took many hours to take a look at what has happened since 1998.
But what I'm wondering is how many are coming. I mean, those that are already there, we can't do a thing about it.
Well, here's a point of clarification. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anybody in this room tonight that hasn't already invested in a piece of property that's already involved in that transaction or legally involved in that transaction. I don't think it's somebody that's saying, I want to buy this piece of property, let me split it up. I think they're caught up in the inconsistencies of what's happened in the past. So to your point, I don't think anybody's coming and saying, let me break the law so I can do this. They're already caught up in the mess.
It's the ones that's already been cut and planted.
Right. So in my mentality is, there's been issues, let's draw the line in the sand. And whether the line moving forward is no, flat out 5 acres moving forward, that's for this board to decide. To me, and again, I'm very cautious about opening up Pandora's box from a legal perspective, but how do we take care of those that are caught in the net today,
And fix that one point.
but make extreme effort in communication to realtors that should know that you got to check this stuff, that we solidified this a year ago to Sharon's point. So there's got to be a strong form of communication that, and whether it's a process that we put in place that, I don't know, but draw the line in the sand, take care of the ones that are currently already legally engaged in a contract or already done, and then let's figure out how we move forward.
Well, here's what, and this is just a thought process that I had, trying to think through this thing, and I agree with Commissioner Gaines 100%, helping these people that are caught in the net. But where is the process where, if a person is a realtor, and see that when they go do a title search or something or other, I don't know how you do it, what the legal ramification for it is, or how you put it on there to where when that person does a title search, they see that this is a 5-acre minimum, because without some stoppage, some ability to do a stoppage, it's just going to continue to be over and over again. So there has to be somewhere before the sale that these people are told. Because all these people that are caught in the net, none of them would have bought 2 acres if they'd been told that they needed 5. They wouldn't have went ahead and bought 2 acres of useless property, because they wouldn't have done that. They'd say, oh, okay, well, I better find some other place, or I'll try to get 5 if I can afford 5, or whatever. But there has to be some point throughout that process where that is known. And, because it's obvious that it has happened numerous times against the land use resolution that passed in 1998. And so that's where we're at. That's what we've got to try to figure out as a board, and with the help of our council and everybody working together, we got to figure out what is the solution for those in the net. How do we make sure that people understand what the rule is going forward if you decide that that's going to be the rule? Then we have to figure out a way to make sure everybody knows that, because I don't want 50 people coming and finding it out the hard way. That's not the way it should work. That is not the way it should be.
It's not fun, I can tell you.
And so I want a solution. And that's what I told these people when I talked to them on the phone. We're going to try to find a solution. I can't promise you nothing, but I'm looking for a solution to help them and prevent it from happening over and over and over again. And that is our job as a commission, is to try to figure out what is that solution to prevent it from happening over and over and over again, to where if this man gets a better job, which I hope he don't, and decides to leave next month, and we get another planning director, that planning director isn't misinterpreting what it says.
Exactly.
Because it is painfully obvious that since 1998, and I don't know how many planning directors there's been since 1998, but there's been a few. And not too many of them did what this man did and come and says, well, what's the deal here?
Yes.
They interpreted it a different way. And so, and I think a lot of that was probably misinterpreted on the 1.5 acre portion of what is written in that rule. And I can kind of see that, because when I read it the first time, it kind of confused me too. I had to ask her, because, I'm not a lawyer. And so, I wanted to try to figure it out, so I think that's where we're at. I think that's what we've got to try to do over the next period of time as we move forward beyond this, trying to figure out what is that solution, not only for those in the net, but to make a permanent solution that everybody fully understands, and there's no way that you can't see it somewhere in the process before the sale actually takes place. Any other questions for Jameson in reference to this?
How many are we looking at right now that's having this problem?
I don't think you know.
I don't know. There's several lots over there that are less than 5 acres
Over there where?
in the Calc Road area. If I just look in that one area, I can show you all kinds. And I ask you to do the same thing. Take a look at the tax assessor website. Click on those things. Then look at the report. You will easily see that there are some, yes, that were bought prior to 1998. Those are grandfathered. But there are just as many or more that weren't, that were bought after 1998.
And they're
Now,
already
some of those people don't have a problem because they already got a house.
Yes.
They're there. They got a house. They don't have a problem.
Just like Miss Fox and Son, they don't have a problem.
There's no problem. They have a house.
Well, I could deed him 300 acres today.
today.
Ain't everybody got that kind of money and that opportunity.
It's not money,
Okay,
it's
let's
opportunities.
stay here.
But
Stay here.
what,
Stay in
100
order.
to you to
Let's
3
stay in
to me
order.
is a lot.
Okay, let's stay in order here. Stay in order.
And then, can I say one more thing?
Yeah,
Things are not always as they appear.
that's all.
I've been in situations, well, when I was in DFAX, and I said, well, they got food stamps, I want to know why I didn't. Well, circumstances are different, and things are not always as they appear. And when I was at DFAX, and I was called in on a case, and a little girl had sores all over her legs. And it was reported to me, and she kept pointing to her legs, and she said, Mama, Mama, Mama. I knew her mother. Well, we thought maybe she'd been burned with cigarettes. When it was investigated, the little girl had impetigo. And see, we had it all things are not, so you can say my neighbor's got 2 acres. But, like I said, they were grandfathered in. They were
Some of them
grandfathered.
are, not all of them.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying, you've got to do your due diligence. And things change, and, we've all got caught up in it. But I understand what they're saying. I am not unsympathetic to that. But, we've made rules, and we've just got to, we've got to follow them or throw them out or something. And I don't want people coming in here and say, oh, they're about to change this, just buy 2 acres and throw up a house. How do you stop that? So I'm just thinking out loud.
Commissioner Gaines said you draw a line in the sand. I mean, but some of these people have, spent $50,000 an acre or so, and had them a while. And
5
they're
acres at 50,000.
life savings and retirement, and they're wanting to build a house, and they've had this land for several years, and about the same time their neighbor just built a house. And I did look at those down Kyle Road and all that today.
I've been down there.
There's several that's less than 5 acres. And
I've
and
seen.
people are wanting to retire and build their house there. And at the time they bought them, they could have bought them when they were grandfathered in, and now they want to build now. And can't build.
There's no perfect answer
No.
to the problem. What we have to do is look at all the different angles and look at the facts and look at the history and determine how we move forward and how do we help the situations that are there.
And that's the reason I wanted to bring this back up, is because we've got to figure out what are those options. And there are options. So let's figure out what those options are, where we stand with those options legally, and where we don't open the Pandora's box, but we have fixed problems that were unbeknownst to people. Because obviously you have sellers selling land that they should be selling 5 acres, they don't know. We got buyers buying land that they don't know. And so, that's the reason I say there's got to be a point in the process, once we make a decision, where this doesn't just keep coming up, because that is our job. And try to figure out, so this don't just keep coming up over and over and over again. Because I can tell you, if I spent $50,000 on 2 acres and now you're telling me I can't use it, I'm not going to be a very happy camper at all, because, you know, even if I am ignorant and didn't know the law, you know, I can easily say, well, whoever I bought it from should have known it then. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can say back and forth here, but we should be a solution-based group. That's our job. We try to figure out solutions. Like I said, this is a 1998 land use ordinance. This is 2020. So that's what we got to look at. Let's look at what we can do option-wise. And between Jameson doing research, our attorney doing research, us doing some research ourselves and looking at the things that are going on in some of these particular areas, we can come up with some kind of solution that is doable and also preventable from it becoming over and over and over. Because I don't think anybody sitting here wants to see this every time you turn around. I don't think you want to see that. I don't. And so we got to figure out a way to fix it. Any other information from the board before I move on?
I just want to tell that lady, the realtor, I appreciate what you said.
Right.
And taking some responsibility for, it's education for everybody. And I really appreciate that. I truly do. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right, we'll move on. Next up, presentation, Dawson County Minimum Standard Code Amendment to include mobile manufactured homes. Planning and Development Director, Jameson Kenny. Jameson, you're up.
Currently, the only mobile home standards within the are within our land use resolution under our RSR, and that's residential sub-rural manufacturing move classification. We're looking to move those regulations from our land use resolution and put them into our minimum standard code. Our planning department uses the state minimum codes, which is the 2018 International Code Council codes, and they currently do not address any type of mobile home inspections. I've broken down what I'd like to see updated in 2 different sections. Section 1 is where we're just removing the portion that talks about the fee schedule. We're removing where it gave a specific number for the reinspection fee and the stop work order fee, and we're just kind of pointing that to our Dawson County fee schedule. That's really more of just maintenance. Section 2 is Exhibit A, which I would like to refer to it as the manufactured mood compatibility standards. The first part of that is Section 61, which is what is directly moved from our land use resolution and applies to all mobile homes. Section 62 is our checklist of our pre-owned mobile homes. And it basically gives the basics of what our checklist is. Right now, if you say you want to move a pre-owned mobile home into Dawson County, I'll send an inspector out to inspect it at that location to make sure it's compatible with Dawson County standards, so you don't get it over here, put it in place, and then we tell you it just won't work. Right now, I send my inspectors pretty much anywhere that they want to move it from into the county, and it takes my guys' time, which leads us to Section 63, which I would like to actually make an inspection fee of that, which I looked at the surrounding counties to come in line with everyone else. It's 25 cents a mile and $500 per inspection. So when I take one of my building inspectors out of their normal rotation, I send them outside the county to do these inspections. Right now we're doing it as a courtesy before bringing them into the county. I also would like to implement a 50-mile radius around Dawsonville. That way I'm not sending my guys just about anywhere. That keeps it very close and local. This will require This amendment will require a public hearing. The document has not been reviewed by our attorneys yet. Should you choose to move forward with this matter, we will allocate those resources and ensure that everything is up to legal standards before moving forward. I'll entertain any questions.
Questions for James?
How many inspections y'all doing annually for used that are coming into the county?
It's really not that many. Last year, we did one. This year, we've had over 8 mobile homes. 4 of them have come in from out of county. So you can see how this year we've kind of seen any kind of uptakes and downtakes. So it's really, we don't really have a set number over the last several years.
And out of that 8, how many failed inspection?
I don't believe any failed inspection.
And I guess obviously the goal of that is safety from an electrical standpoint and sanitary for a plumbing standpoint, and making sure we're not bringing a problem or a
Absolutely.
hazard for a family into the county.
That is correct. And that's why I included the general inspection list on the guidelines, so you can see, we don't make sure all the windows are intact, doors are functional, there's no holes in the floor, no loose wiring. You can go through that and you can pretty much do the inspection, and you can look at it without even spending your money to have one of our inspectors come out.
Other questions?
So if, I guess, mobile homes, they would fall under the ICC.
They
Are
don't.
they federal standards?
Yes.
So that way they're okay nationwide. So if say, the federal standard, and this was a 1999 mobile home, it met the standards then, and it doesn't meet the standard now, or meet our standards, what would we do then? Can we supersede the federal standard?
So any new mobile home or manufactured home that comes in, we require a HUD stamp.
Okay, so long as it's standard.
As long as it's stamped. The issue with accepting older mobile homes is people do renovations and people do other things, and we just want to make sure that anything that was done up to code and it is able for transport into our county.
Can we stamp them when they get,
We do not do any type of certification or stamping.
so we would accept another agency stamp, another county or wherever it's at, city?
Generally, the stamps are all done on I'm guessing it's the state or federal
On the
level.
HUD, on the HUD.
On by HUD, yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, James. Next up, we have presentation of appointment of building official as the local government agent for the purposes defined in the Abandonment Mobile Home Act. Planning and Development Director James Kennedy. James.
We have a PowerPoint presentation for this. So in 2018, the state adopted what they call the Abandoned Mobile Home Act. Before I get further into this, I'm going to try to go over the scenario of that if you buy a piece of property and it has a mobile home on it, you're not necessarily buying that mobile home as well. That mobile home can be titled to another person. So what this act allows for, if the mobile home is abandoned, and you don't know where that owner is or who it is or however to get in touch with them, these are the procedures that you go through to get either that mobile home removed from your property or put in your name, essentially. In order to do that, you need to assign or appoint a local government agent. In this resolution, I'm recommending that we appoint the building official as the local government agent for the purposes of this abandoned mobile home act. What the building official will do at this point would go out to the location and recognize if it is, evaluate the mobile home to see if it is either intact or derelict. And there's 2 different sets of procedures, whether it's intact, how to put that into someone else's name through you have to file a lien, wait a year, 2 weeks in the paper, additional 30 days before it can go through public sale. So there's a long drawn out process in order to do that, but it's completely up to the state codes in order to bring it into that person's name. If it happens to be derelict, which means it's uninhabitable, it's going to pretty much have to be removed. We wouldn't even permit any type of upgrades to it to bring it, to make it habitable. We would then have to place a notice on the property saying that it is derelict. We have to send certified letters to all responsible parties, their last known addresses. It has to go before magistrate court to say that this needs to be removed, and then magistrate will give them 180 days for it to be removed. 30 days after the landowner actually disposes of the mobile home, they have to notify the Department of Revenue to take off the tax records. But essentially what this resolution is just appointing the building official as that local government agent so they can enact this act. Once again, this doesn't happen very often, but it's one of those things that you always want in your back pocket. So if it does come about, you have that option and that road to go down.
Questions for James?
So what is, it's my understanding there is a process when it comes to the way mobile homes are taxed versus a property tax situation. Doesn't someone in the tax commissioner or tax assessor's office go out and touch these once a year? Are they supposed to go touch them once a year, or is that part of the process? Not touch. I mean, I'm go out there and look at it.
And I'm
I
sure.
think they get a mobile home permit through the tax.
Annually.
Mm-hmm.
Annually, they do that.
Yes.
But I think they have to go inspect them too, I believe. Or they have to
No,
go-
they-
Assessor goes.
Oh, yeah, Nicole's here.
Yeah, the tax assessor goes out there once a year, to make
Yes.
sure they're livable before we can put them on the digest. And you can have a mobile home that is pre-built, so it's by itself, like he's saying, like somebody else can own it. Or you can have a mobile home cancel the real property. And then when you buy that property, you buy the mobile home.
From an efficiency standpoint, if we're trying to check these things, I mean, y'all coordinate, or not y'all, because you're not involved in that, you're not the tax assessor, you're the tax commissioner from a definition standpoint, but does the tax assessor pick up with one of your guys and go out when they do the inspections to make it more efficient and cost effective?
No, currently we do not coordinate that in that fashion.
Can we look at that from an efficiency standpoint?
Absolutely.
Other questions? Thank you, James. Stay right there. Presentation of updated planning commission terms. James.
Thank you, Chairman. All right. Try to keep this brief. I'm just going to read the portion that we're looking to update of our codes that refers to our planning commission terms. As of December 31st, 2020, each term member and alternate appointed in the accord with this ordinance shall be 2 years, except for the appointments for District 1 and District 3 shall be for 1 year, and thereafter shall be for 2 years, and shall be on the first day of the calendar year. So basically what that says, and that is, this is similar language as this board has adopted before. That is going to align our planning commissioners with our board of commissioner terms. So when your term is up, the planning commissioner will be up. And as of right now, all of our planning commissioners' terms will be up in December.
So logistically, when the appointment would have to happen, in this year's case, Julie's not running again, so that whoever were to win in November, so between November and January 1st, that appointment would have to be made by that person that's been not elected, or elected, what do you call it, elected being, they're not seated yet.
Absolutely.
But they would have that, they would do that appointment, but they would be seated, they would vote on it at that point.
Absolutely. You're correct.
So they would hit the ground running January 1st.
Okay. And we don't host our first planning commission until the third week of every month, so hopefully we can get someone on the board for this, or at least tend to
They
be.
could be appointed when you do the county clerk and the county manager.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I think that was something that came into play, because in mine, it wasn't until after I was
Right.
sat,
There's
and there was
always
a
been some
delay, and so it
confusion
wasn't.
with that.
Yeah, as long as it's November,
Yeah, this is just language to try to clear everything up, to put everything in line, that way we can move forward.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Other questions for James? Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to say,
Go ahead.
Jameson, once people are elected, that maybe you could reach out to them and start thinking, so they can start thinking about it and be ready, so they would know by November or so.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have to rush to find someone.
And they have to go to a class. So do we have the ability to send them to class before?
Well, I actually have an alternate right now that I still need to send to class. I'm still waiting on the Carl Vinson Institute to let me know when they're going to have classes again. So
It'd be great if you could have somebody effective that January 1st already been to class, because they're making decisions January 2nd, effectively. I mean, and they need to have gone to class before, you know what I mean? If that's
I
possible.
guess there's time limits that they have to get that class in. If it's normal time, which it ain't normal
well,
time.
the class is not a planning. It's called Planning 101. It's not a required class for the position, but we would obviously absolutely love to have every person that's in that.
Boy, they need it.
Yeah.
We done experienced that. There's so much confusion. They need it. Cause, okay, you said something about District 1, which that's me. I'm not Angela Davis, will make it clear, so she won't be insulted, but, like Jason Hamby is my appointed. Do I need to be going ahead and talking to him and ask him if he's gonna stay or fly the coop or what? Because he's the chair, I think he's still the chairman.
Yes, ma'am. He is still the chairman, and absolutely, you can have those conversations with him.
Okay.
I would probably start having those conversations. Well, once this is passed, and we know exactly what their term limits are.
Yeah, okay.
But absolutely, I would start having those conversations this fall for sure.
Cause that could really be critical, and you have a whole bunch of new people. Whew, it's complicated.
Thank you, James. Next up, presentation of board appointments. The Vita Community Partners Board, Ms. Angela Brown, that will be a reappointment July 2020 through June 2023. We also have Department of Family and Children Services, Tina Brady, which would be a reappointment July 2020 through June 2025. And so I bring them to you for your consideration. And I'll try to answer any questions you might have about either one. Okay?
Has Angela has she been on here?
She has. This is a reappointment.
They're both
Both
I know
reappointed.
Tina has.
Yep, they're both reappointed. Both willing to serve again.
Okay.
Any other questions? Next up, we have the county manager report. Dave?
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Our Emergency Services Department continues to collaborate with local law enforcement agencies on the current civil unrest being experienced across the country and in some neighboring jurisdictions. Incident action plans are in place for any civil unrest that may come to Dawson County. Our EMS folks are in constant communication with the Sheriff's Office, myself, and surrounding counties as well. You may have seen some of the emails that I've sent out to you that I think Forsyth County is planning on shutting down their main office tomorrow at noon. They may have some people speaking and coming out during that time frame. Talking to Palm County, they are as well preparing for anything that may or may not come their way. So we are in constant communication. I will continue to forward those emails and information to you as I get that to keep you up to speed on what's going on there. At Commissioner Gaines' suggestion, Emergency Services will hold a virtual boot drive since it is unable to hold its regular boot drive due to COVID-19. The online boot drive will be held online June 15th through the 21st. More information will be posted on the county website and social media channels, and we can donate by visiting the Dawson County Fire Department's team page on the Georgia Firefighters Burn Foundation website. I think we did get a flyer on that.
Yes.
Right there. Also, open enrollment for employee health care benefits is scheduled for June 15th through the 21st. Virtual enrollment will be conducted on the 17th through the 19th. Human Resources Department is in the process of scheduling informational sessions for county employees to communicate the open enrollment and health plan process. This session will start next week. As I said, Human Resources has gotten with all the departments and has set up schedules to meet with their groups, and we'll be going over that in great detail, so to make sure that the communication efforts have stepped up on that transaction. Also, Monday, June the 8th at 2:30 p.m. at the junior high school, the Family Connection is hosting the Dawson County Family Connection with help from the Dawson County School System is proud to partner with Farmers to Families Food Box to provide Dawson area families with wholesome fresh fruits and vegetables. Food boxes are available to anyone at no cost. There are no eligibility requirements to receive a food box. Just show up. Limited 1 box per family, 2 boxes per vehicle, and that will also be posted on the webpage for folks to look at as well. And that concludes my report. Answer any questions you may have.
Questions of the county manager?
There was some information about the health insurance that Brad was going to bring back to us. Chris, do you remember? Are they still working on it?
Yeah, I don't think, it was the date on that, I believe, was our next meeting. It was the second meeting in June, the 19th.
Wellness program.
Yeah.
Yes, on the wellness.
Thank
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Forsyth County has received a permit for protesters.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned Lumpkin. Have they
They have not
received
had
that?
anything formal.
Okay.
They're just, of course, the social media, some of the social media posts that
Just
has
here.
tried to recruit folks to participate. So, but in my last conversation with their county manager, I said this afternoon, they had not had any formal permit.
Have we heard from the sheriff's office, are they proactively looking at?
My understanding, talking with Major Roman today, they are very active on the social media, looking at and observing what's going on, taking any emails or anything like that that's come across seriously. So they're very involved. And they're involved with EMS as well.
Fortifying with National Guard or anything at this point for a show of?
Haven't heard anything regarding that.
Other questions of the county manager? Thank you, David. County attorney report?
I'll just make one quick announcement. For many of you that remember, and some citizens may be aware as well, the Dawson Forest zoning cases, these were zoning matters that came before the board some years ago and were denied. They are coming before the Court of Appeals on June 16th for argument before the Court of Appeals. As you may recall, we were before the trial court on a motion to dismiss, and we prevailed on most of the issues, but there were a couple of remaining claims which we appealed. So that is being held via Zoom meeting, and so nobody can attend, but it's on June 16th at 10 a.m., and you can view that on a live stream on the Georgia Court of Appeals website. It's pretty clearly marked if you go on and want to click that and watch the arguments. It's slightly delayed, but not by much.
Questions for the county attorney?
Does that usually start on time?
It will start on time. However, I had an argument actually yesterday on another case, and there'll be like 5 cases assigned to the 10 o'clock block.
Oh.
And I don't know which case we would be. Each case will be assigned 30 minutes of time. So it could be anywhere from 10 to like 12:30.
Wow.
The order will be announced in the beginning though, so you could tune in right at 10 and know roughly when it will come up.
Choose between Jerry Springer and that.
That's right. And 30 minutes each. You're allowed.
15 minutes per side, so each
Oh,
case will be 30 minutes.
so you just talk 15 minutes. Okay.
Yes, and they've actually consolidated our 2 cases and given us 15 minutes for both cases for our side, and same for the opposition.
Other questions for the county attorney? Thank you, ma'am. That's all we have on the work session. We'll take just a few-minute break to give staff the opportunity to be prepared for our voting session. Welcome all of you to stay. And in just a few minutes, we'll go into our voting session. Thank you again for your attendance. We'll have a few minutes and then we'll go back.